have ended it though. That's well, I don't want to give a spoiler though right off the bat.
I didn't see it.
I mean, I guess it's
I
a
heard
spoiler.
the last 4
Oh, you never
seasons
saw it?
sucked. I heard the last 4 seasons were bad.
You can't complain about it if you
I
haven't
didn't
seen
complain
it.
about it. I just said it's fish in a barrel.
Fish. Oh, okay.
Because everyone
now,
says it sucks.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's true.
So
It does
why
suck.
talk about that one?
That's all we're going to talk about today. It's just this is the Dexter show. That's what we're getting into. All right, we are live. Hello. This is Between the Streams. This is our weekly entertainment podcast where we talk about television and movies and everything going on with those, and tackle the greater questions that we're going to be doing today.
The big themes.
The big themes. The most important things that you can talk about today.
The Dexters, if you will.
The Dexters of the world. And we're getting live right now here on Facebook and YouTube, and we want to hear your comments and questions as we go through this. We've got a ton of things to get to today. We're going to be talking about The Defenders. We're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which you saw.
Yes.
And I'm jealous of.
And I will give a spoiler-free, very lightly peppered review of cool details.
Excellent.
Will not spoil it at all.
We're going to talk about The Dark Tower. All the exciting things that have happened this week, but we really do want to hear your comments as well. I'm Greg Nibbler.
I'm Ryan Juanita.
And the question that we want to start off with today has to do with this. We saw that House of Cards has the new trailer coming out this week, and we're gonna talk about House of Cards a little bit more later on in the show. But just the general idea of what TV series do you think has stayed on for too long?
Yeah.
Like either it could be one that's already done or one that's on now. Like what would you say? Because I'm sure we all have one.
Yeah, and I think especially with dramas, I start to get a little bit just sort of angry at the production team because what we have here is sort of a string along effect.
Yeah.
Where it's like, as long as the ratings are there, we're just going to keep pulling you down this tunnel.
Right.
And by the end of it, you realize this tunnel never went anywhere to begin with. There's
Yeah.
no big arc. There's no real conclusion. All of a sudden, the ratings start to drop, and they're like, well, guess we better wrap it up. Sometimes they don't even wrap it up. Usually the bigger series they do, they'll wrap it up, usually not in a fully pleasing or satisfying way. And then it's done, and you're left with this bad taste in your mouth out of a series that the first 2 or 3 seasons even
Right.
shocked you into like thinking, how could TV be this good? And it's almost sad. It's like a movie that like they couldn't figure out how to write the ending, so it just went on for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like who wants that?
And that's true. And there are a lot of shows like that.
We've been talking about The Walking Dead, where it feels like nothing ever good will happen for these people, so we'll just watch them in torture forever.
The Walking Dead is definitely one. Sons of Anarchy is the one for me.
Yeah.
And I like Sons of Anarchy, but I feel like there were 4 seasons that were exactly the same. Just insert a different gang each season.
And of course, House of Cards, we feel like it's gone
Yeah.
on too long. You were saying you thought it was only 1 or 2 seasons it was written for, basically.
I think House of Cards could have gone 2 seasons.
The British series only did, I think,
and
2.
ended then. Yeah, and I think
As is
that
their
would have
way.
been. I think that would have worked for me. And then just leave it at that. Like, oh
Right.
my gosh, that happened, and then done. But now it's going on to the 5th season, and again, we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But I do want to see just read off some of the comments that we're getting here of other people. Bruce says The Simpsons lasted too long,
Which was Nick, our managing editor's first
he
thought.
said The Simpsons.
It's like 35 seasons or something.
Let's see. Jeff says Lost, which Lost I
Right.
never did watch. I will admit because I heard people were so mad at the ending.
I heard,
that I didn't watch it.
heard that it was just not worth the ride.
Yeah.
And it didn't engage me right away.
Both Thornton and Philippe are saying Grey's Anatomy. Is Grey's Anatomy still on?
I've
I'm gonna
never
be
seen that
honest.
show.
Maybe you can let us know.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Bachelor. Vicky says The Bachelor. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could see that.
after the first episode, I could tell that had gone on too long.
Yeah. I think though people that watch The Bachelor, that is the one thing it'll last for like 60 years.
Well, that's
People
just set
watch
them up
that
and
show.
knock them down. They can do that forever. But what's good is stuff like Noah Hawley. He can make like Fargo. It's different every time because they'll jump to a new storyline. You
Yeah.
can do that for a really long time, right?
Right.
I mean, eventually people are going to get tired of the frozen winter and the accents. But when you reinvent your series every time and get new actors, it's totally different.
Well, and that's kind of like American Horror Story. At least
Yeah.
I mean, same actors but different characters
Right.
and
These anthology
story,
series.
Yeah.
And that can go on for a long time. Breaking Bad is a great example of a drama that set you up, created a full arc, decided when they were going to end it, and gave you a bam, and it was good all the way through.
Now there's somebody disputing that.
Oh, really?
Christopher says
He says it should have ended after 4. I guarantee
when
it.
they're chasing down the. Oh, yeah. when they were chasing down the fly. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, you said that was too long.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah,
I think that was just like one of those episodes that you
that
have to sit
episode
through.
was
that is really long.
That's like the old Dream episodes on The Sopranos.
That's the episode version. Yeah, the Dream.
God, I hate
episodes.
Dream episodes. I hate them.
When
so
he was
much.
in the coma, I was like, just kill him or something.
Yeah, just something. Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a lot that are coming in here, and we want to revisit this question throughout. But we've got a couple other things to get to. Well, we got a lot of things to get to.
Yeah,
so,
but keep giving us your thoughts.
Yeah. Keep dropping those in there, letting us know what series you think lasted too long. As we move through some of the topics, and like I said, we got a bunch of stuff to get to: Guardians of the Galaxy, Dark Tower, Defenders. But we do want to acknowledge that today is Cinco de Mayo, which happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody out there.
That's why we're drinking beer.
We
we usually drink beer.
Although I don't think this is Mexican beer, but
It's
we'll
not.
just pretend that it is. But yesterday was, of course, May the 4th. And I'm not going to finish it.
Don't say it. We know.
You
It was
finish
Star Wars Day.
It was Star Wars Day. And like an unofficial Star Wars Day, basically, May the 4th. And
I think it's pretty official.
it's pretty official now, yeah. So there was an article that went up on Digital Trends talking about the proper order to watch the series.
And I'm
The
sorry to
proper
say
order.
that I had never heard about this.
The Machete Order?
It's a big Reddit thing, and I do dabble in Reddit, but I'm not like super on it all the time. And I'd never
Yeah.
heard of this, but it's called the Machete Order. Shall we just?
Yeah, you go ahead.
those who aren't aware.
Because I haven't watched it in this order, but I guess the theory is that it's the best way to watch all the episodes to get
Yes.
a proper story.
This is a now famous thing that was created by Rob Hilton on his blog post, 2011 famous blog post. And the blog is called something like, Absolutely No Machete Juggling is his blog.
Okay.
Which is why it's called the Machete Order.
The
It doesn't
okay.
seem to make sense, but that's why it's called it.
All right.
Anyway, his idea is he says that you should watch it in this order. And this was before Rogue One and Force Awakens, we should say.
Yeah.
So the order that he recommends is Episode 4 and then Episode 5, which is A New Hope, the first movie, and
Yeah.
then Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Then you jump back and you watch Attack of the Clones
Okay.
and Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
2 and 3 in the prequel series.
Uh-huh.
And now the reason you do that is because after Empire, Luke is like wondering about his dad being his father, and there's that big reveal. Sorry if that's a spoiler for anyone. Darth Vader is in fact Luke's father.
Dude,
I'll
I'll bleep that out in the podcast,
So then
so.
basically you go back and you sort of, as he calls it, sort of a long flashback to how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader.
Yes.
And so the 2 and 3 prequel movies are sort of that flashback. And
Okay.
then you come back to
fill in the
Jedi,
gaps.
and Jedi sort of ties it all up.
Okay.
So that was his big idea. I think it's a really cool way to watch them. But we've adjusted this a little bit because there's 2 more movies.
Yes.
So here's our new order.
Okay.
You watch Rogue One, which I really love,
Uh-huh.
and it ends 10 minutes before the first Star Wars.
Right.
So you watch Rogue One, and it sets you all up, kind of like shows you the Empire. There's some badass Vader scene in there. Then that runs right into 4. Then you
Okay.
follow the order, go 4, 5, and then you slip back to 2, 3.
Okay.
You watch Jedi, and then you watch Force Awakens.
Okay.
That is the quintessential way, and there is no argument about it. We are absolutely correct. This is factual information.
Clearly, Digital Trends would not lead you astray on that.
No, the only other way to watch it is just skip all the prequels. The one thing you're maybe wondering is, what about Phantom Menace?
Yes. What about Phantom
Well,
Menace?
the idea is Phantom Menace is A, terrible, and B, doesn't really add much to the storyline. You do get Qui-Gon, and I like Qui-Gon, and you do get Darth Maul, and Darth Maul's awesome. But both of them, spoiler alert, die, and they don't really do anything.
Yeah.
You see a little bit of young Obi-Wan, but you'll see him in Attack of the Clones. So basically, it's not
You could
worth
just
it.
throw it out.
And you really don't need all that Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, that's true. That is the Jar Jar Binks side of it. All right.
So there you go. That's
could
your
kinda
Star
see that.
Wars Day. That's your new order. If you've got a lot of time this weekend, we suggest
that in.
you try it.
That is a suggestion. All right. Well, there's a full article about that at digitaltrends.com as well. So go there and check that out. And I'll try it.
We give you a lot of reasons in the
Yeah.
article, so it kind of fleshes it out a little bit more too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All
There
right.
you have it.
Perfect.
Now you know the right order.
Now we know the proper order.
The
proper order.
Yes.
Okay, bouncing on, we're going to get to the weekend box office here, just referencing back to our main question, our overall question that we had.
Yeah.
What series went on too long? I do want to acknowledge Alfred. Saved by the Bell. Those college years still haunt
college
me.
years?
The college years were bad. The
So
college
bad.
years were horrible.
Although I somehow did really enjoy their beach-like thing that they did, where they just took Saved by the Bell to the beach.
Yeah.
And Zach has this weird
That's
romance.
because they were all in swimsuits. That's why.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But yeah, good point. Good call, Alfred. All right, let's talk about the weekend
Yeah,
box
that's one
office.
I wouldn't have thought of, but
No.
totally right.
No, you nailed it.
Really did.
All right, weekend box office.
Yes.
Guardians
I
of the Galaxy
watched
2.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
You went and saw it.
Here's the thing about Guardians of the
Spoiler
Galaxy
free.
2.
This will be
Yeah.
spoiler free.
Here's the thing, though. Just to give you, all I'm going to set you up is tone, and basically, it's the same thing as the first one. However, it's freaking awesome.
Okay.
And the thing is, you wouldn't have thought it was possible, or I wouldn't have, to recreate what they did in the first one, which was this crazy balance of like a zany comedy, a almost Buck Rogers style space adventure,
Yeah.
but it's got the Marvel connections and all these weird characters that you thought would never work on screen. They did all of that, and they balanced it brilliantly in a way that DC hasn't been able to sort of match as far as those kind of odd stories. And I'll get to that in a second. But they did it all again, and it's just perfect. It's so fun. It's just this great storyline. I'll shout out a couple of things. You do get to learn more about Starlord's background, which we've already talked
knew that,
about.
yeah.
But there's a couple of standouts, and Rick Marshall and I, who wrote the review, I told him that it felt like he was just taking it right out of my mouth. Like, he basically said everything I was thinking, except so he was also talking about how Michael Rooker's character as Yondu, he really had a standout performance in this one. And if you don't know who Michael Rooker is, he's from the first. You'll see him in the first season of The Walking Dead. He always plays like sort of a bad guy, but he's a really good actor.
Yeah,
sort of
he's a great actor.
Yeah. So he's great in it, but I also wanted to give a shout out to Elizabeth Debicki, who plays the High Priestess of the Sovereigns. It's this perfect race of golden people. She's amazing in it.
Okay.
I knew her first from The Night Manager, which is a really good show, but she has a really killer performance in a role that could have been flat if it wasn't a really good actress.
Yeah.
She kills it. You get to know more about the characters, and it's really going to be the funnest movie, I think, that you're going to see all year.
Wow.
It's just
that
really
is a
fun.
huge.
And who couldn't use some fun right now?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Something might come up and match it, but man, I just don't know how James Gunn can get that perfect balance between sci-fi, action, weirdness, colors, strange characters, and comedy. And somehow he just nailed it twice.
wow.
Way
All
to
right,
go, James.
That is a stellar review.
Loved it.
So, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that is out. Obviously in theaters now. That is definitely the big recommendation. There is one other movie we're going to bring up that is out, which I think this story is pretty fascinating.
It looks great, and I love Liev Schreiber.
Exactly, yeah. Liev Schreiber, whatever he's in.
Is it Lev Schreiber? I can never remember.
Liev, whatever. Yeah.
He's great.
You know who we're talking about.
Also, it's strange, Jim Gaffigan in this movie, but go ahead and tell him who it is.
Yeah, so the movie is called Chuck.
Yeah.
And it's essentially the story, based on a true story, of the guy who inspired the Rocky movies. So Rocky Balboa obviously was a fake character, but it's supposedly Sylvester Stallone based that character on this guy, on this actual boxer.
This dude was a liquor salesman, and all of a sudden he up and went 15 rounds with the greatest.
Yeah, with Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
And that's true. His name's Chuck Wepner.
Yeah.
And Liev Schreiber plays him, and this is the story of him. He's just kind of this guy. I mean, he's not a great boxer. He thinks he's more famous than he is based on what I'm watching here.
But he's tough.
Yeah. and it's just like the story of him, of how he has to stay famous to stay relevant, and that's how he's making money. So he's got to fight a bear at one point. It looks like it's a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, it might be a little
maybe
dark.
sad.
I don't know if it's
It
fun.
might be sad.
But from what we've heard, it's got a lot of the tropes that you'll see of all these kind of boxing movies. But just as far as the reviews I've read so far, it's really all about Schreiber's performance. He just kind of kills it. So could be worth
amazing.
watching.
All right, so that's those are the two that we were going to talk about that are out in theaters right now. Okay, let's talk about another big trailer that came out this week, which you had a lot of trailers.
I was so confused by this trailer, but there's
I
a
can
lot
kinda
of
break it
intricate
down a little
things
bit.
in there. Yeah, I read a couple of things about it. Yeah.
And we're going to circle back around to talking about which series lasted too long, too. That's the overriding question if you're just tuning in right now. But this was exciting for a lot of people for this to come out this week, and it is
12 years in the making, maybe?
Yeah.
They were supposed to make this movie so long ago.
And we finally got to see a Dark Tower trailer. So it's actually happening. The movie is actually happening.
As far as we know.
So the Dark Tower, it's scheduled to come out on August 4th is the release date that we've been given. Hopefully that stays that way. Who knows? They've bounced it all around.
Yeah.
But we actually got to see what it's going to look like on screen, how it's going to work. We get to see Jake. We get to see Roland. We get to see the Man in Black. And the hard part about the Dark Tower, if you've read the series, it's a very elaborate world.
It's a sprawling labyrinth of almost it's like everything but the kitchen sink in Stephen King's books. It's connected to all his many of his other books.
Well,
it's 9 different books.
Yes.
And they're interdimensional travel.
Well, I think I can give just for a general thing, if you haven't read the books, just a general description of what this is about.
Yeah.
In this book, in this world, in the Dark Tower world, there are different planes of existence that are like our world, but not quite alike. So basically, different parallel universes.
So basically, what scientists think actually is true.
Right. Yeah. Parallel universes,
Right.
and they're all held together in place by the Dark Tower. So the Dark Tower holds all these worlds in place from collapsing on each other and turning into this nightmare hell world. And the Man in Black wants to make that happen. He wants to collapse the Dark Tower. The gunslinger is Idris Elba. He's from a line of people that are trying to prevent that from happening.
Right.
And Jake is the kid, and Jake has powers where he can kind of see through the other worlds.
Jake is kind of us in this.
Yeah. Only even more because he has the ability to see the other worlds.
I mean, my question about this, and there's some cool things in there, like as you see, there's a little picture of the Overlook Hotel in there.
Yeah, they've
little
got a
Easter
lot of
eggs like that, connections back to the other books. From The Shining, for those who don't know. And I think that picture is actually taken.
It's Timberline Lodge.
Right, about 30 miles from where we sit. So there's really cool little things. My question about this is just how are they going to do this and do it right and not just make a mess out of it? Like, how can this script not be a mess when they're trying to make this amalgamation of all these different novels?
There's one thing though, as far as tying in the other stories, I
think
think that's
jumping around on the timeline quite a bit in this movie, like in the book timeline.
As far as the Dark Tower series, I think what they're really doing is they're making this a sequel to the books because
really?
In theory, yeah, and that's the confusing thing. This is one of the theories I read anyway, is that because something's referenced in the Dark Tower series is that time repeats itself. But it can be different when it repeats, like things will be slightly different. So I think what they may be doing is doing it that way. So it's like, oh yeah, all that happened, now all this is happening.
Look, I don't know. If I was like a premiere filmmaker and this was my big shot and they were like, make this movie and do it right, I'd be like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I will wait for the next opportunity. This seems like a nightmare.
It does seem like a nightmare.
Speaking of how do you do it, like I was giving James Gunn props. If they can pull this one off, it's going to be quite something.
I mean, I'm definitely going to watch it. There's a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah.
Because this can fail pretty easily. But yeah, at least we did finally get to see it on screen. We got to see a gunslinger. We got to see a Jake. We got to see a Man in Black.
And Idris Elba is one of my favorite actors. He looks great in it.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey looks, like very
looks
dark.
like he's going to be evil. Yeah.
The Crimson King. I'm interested to see.
I don't know who's playing
how
that
happens, but
yeah. So there we go.
It's
the Dark Tower. Let
hard.
us know if you're excited about it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a fan of the books, you're probably cautiously excited.
Do we remember who's directing this? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know. They switched everything around so much. I'll be honest. I didn't grab the director on this.
Anyway,
whatever.
There's a lot on his shoulders. We'll come back to it maybe.
All right. A lot of things still to get to here on the show. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Between the Streams, our entertainment and television podcast, movies, all of that. We've got an overriding question that people are still chiming in with their answers. What TV series do you think stayed on for just too long,
or way too long,
and so people, keep on dropping those in there. Family Guy was one that was mentioned.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could see that. Family Guy has gone on for a long time.
Yeah.
Keep those in there. We'll revisit that here in just a second. But the other big trailer that we got this last week, which we finally get to see them really in action on screen, is for The Defenders. So the continuation of Marvel's Netflix series. We've seen all 4 of them separately, and some minor crossovers in them. I mean, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones definitely had a crossover. I think that's probably the only one.
There's been little minor ones, especially of the
other
villain characters. But as far as the heroes themselves, we haven't seen.
Other than Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. But then, we had the Iron Fist and, of course, Daredevil. And in this new trailer for The Defenders, which is coming out, I believe, in August as well, August 18th, you get to see, Matt Murdock, who is Daredevil, walking in, and he is going to be the attorney for Jessica Jones. And then they show them all crossing over. And it is kind of cool to see Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I know nobody liked Iron Fist, but it's cool to see those two characters actually on screen together since they had so many comics together, Power Man and the Iron Fist.
Right.
It's kind of cool, just for that part, the nostalgia part. And hopefully they can get this thing done right. I have faith. I have faith in them. Marvel, Iron Fist wasn't the greatest, still. I think they're going to be pretty good at this.
Well, I think, like you said, it was weird that they sort of ended on a low note with Iron Fist. They've got a lot on their shoulders to make this relevant again, but I think it can happen. And these are great characters, so I think it's really exciting. And a lot of the players from, I think the showrunner is the person who did Jessica Jones, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or no, Daredevil. It's the Daredevil showrunner, I believe.
Daredevil
for
showrunner
Defenders.
that's making it. Okay.
And going back to what we were saying before, it's Nikolaj Arcel, who he's done a lot of big movies. He's the guy tasked with the Dark Tower.
Oh, okay. Back to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
just the Dark Tower. That's the director for it.
Right.
Okay.
He's done
that's
a bunch of
what we're
stuff. But yeah, anyway, I'm excited for the Defenders series. I still haven't pushed myself to watch Iron Fist because, I don't know. I've just heard, and there's just so much good TV out there.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the whole thing. I don't. It's not the worst thing that's ever been on.
No, I'm sure it's like fine. It's just that
fine.
Fine doesn't cut it anymore because there's
not
so
great.
much good TV out there.
It's definitely not. It's not good, but it's fine.
And speaking of so much good TV out there,
Yeah.
The Handmaid's Tale. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
I have not. So let's talk about The Handmaid's Tale.
Just so you know, it's at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, 9.1 average. That's the highest thing I've ever seen.
So I'm going to need you to explain The Handmaid's Tale to me. And this is on Hulu.
Yes, and it's starring Elizabeth Moss, who many will know from her role on Mad Men.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
she's fantastic in that show. But
so what is The
Handmaid's Tale is a famous novel. It was really a popular novel. It's a dystopian story basically about authoritarianism takes over because, or for at least in part, because people no longer can have children for the most part.
Okay, so this takes place sometime in the future.
It's kind of like it's got a City of Men vibe to it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's sometime in the near future. And what happens is those who can still bear children are basically chased down by the authorities and imprisoned to be slaves. And then they're taken to these houses of important people. In our episode, Elizabeth Moss's character is in Joseph Fiennes' character's house. He's like a commander or something.
Joseph Fiennes is creepy just in general.
He is creepy in this too. Yeah, totally. And he's got this like sort of sweaty beard. It's like it's very creepy.
No, he's really good at that.
And basically, they are just there to bear the child. And of course, there's a wife in the picture, and she is not happy about that situation. Of course.
Oh my God, that sounds awful.
It's so dark, and you would think that like it couldn't engage you, and in fact, it almost didn't because there was like almost nothing redeeming as far as like something to hope for. But right at the end, because I've only seen the first episode, but right at the end of the first episode, there's this perfect moment of redemption where you're like, okay. And what you realize is she's sort of this very quiet character who's sort of starting to lead this mental resistance. And you see these inkling of
some amount of hope.
Yeah, you see this inkling of like sort of power in her just ability to stay sane and to stay who she is. And and Elizabeth Moss just gives an incredible performance right from the start. Like I said, I've only seen the first episode, but it is very, very engaging.
That sounds really depressing.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of Guardians of the Galaxy. So maybe see that first, or maybe wash it down with like some Parks and Rec or something like that. Yeah, but it's quite amazing.
Okay. All right, The Handmaid's Tale.
And the thing about this is it's the biggest thing Hulu's ever had, they said. It's bigger than any show they've had, both that they've created and that they've brought on.
Wow.
They are getting – it's sort of their house of cards. It's like putting them on the map, basically.
Okay.
Which is very exciting for them. It's kind of cool to see them get a win because
Yeah,
Netflix has been killing them.
Right.
Amazon had The Man in the High Castle, which is, not nearly as big as this, but it's got the critical acclaim. And Amazon also has –
also depressing. But
yeah. And, Amazon also has a few other, pretty hot shows. But anyway, I think you should watch it. If you like really good drama.
And I do.
It's quite good.
And I like watching some dark things, so
Yeah.
I will end up watching it. All right, well, The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu. Moving on to a few other things here that we have to cover today. We've got a couple of things, some new series and some new movies that I wanted to bring up. But going back to our overriding question, what TV series do you think stayed on for just too long? We come to this, The House of Cards.
Yes.
We finally get a trailer for the 5th season that came out this week. It's going to be released on Netflix on May 30th. And, I'm going to be relatively spoiler-free, but if you haven't caught up by now, I don't think it's going to make much difference for you. You probably have a pretty good idea of what's going on. This is a series that I think has lasted too long. And I like House of Cards. I want to like the new seasons so bad. I love the character of Frank Underwood. But it probably should have ended after 2 seasons. and just left you wanting more, but you'll never know what happened after that, and then that's the end. Maybe a third to wrap it up, but the third season was not good. The fourth season, it just wasn't.
Going on a limb there.
Yeah, I mean, it had potential, but no. The fourth season, I mean, the end of it basically, you do have a cliffhanger at the end. I mean, I'll give it that. And you get to see some manipulations. There's a lot of boring crap with Claire and her mom. Sorry, it's just so boring.
So tell us what you really feel.
I mean, it's just so boring.
Well,
like, I don't care about her mom. I'm sorry, I just don't.
They're trying to be timely. There's an essence of Trump about this, and then there's like this sort of thing where he seems to think he's going to be the supreme ruler for all time, which seems pretty outlandish to me. I mean, like. He's basically trying to be the Putin of America, and that seems like, I don't know if that's
well, have you watched
believable.
The last?
I've only watched the first 2 seasons.
Okay, first 2 are great.
Yeah.
This fourth one, it's kind of like that. I mean, again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but just if you're planning on watching the fifth, you'll need to watch the fourth.
Yeah.
I am getting some pushback here.
Yeah.
Juan says House of Cards is my favorite. Greg Nibbler, you're in the wrong seat. Okay, so we're going to have to disagree. All right, so now I know what not to talk to Juan about next time he comes back here.
Good. Those are fighting words.
Yeah, I like it. I will watch House of Cards. I'm going to watch the 5th season. I want to love it. I'm rewatching the 4th season right
at 5:03.
Juan knows where to find me. So
his address is 217.
But yeah, I'm gonna watch it, and I want to like it.
Yeah.
But I'm already. I'm gonna put it as.
Well, it just goes back to this thing, and
I don't know.
I know people are like throwing out The Simpsons and stuff like that. And I
Cleo.
get that those have gone on too long, but those are just sort of treading water because
Yeah.
it's comedy. There's no there's no underwriting theme or story.
Yeah.
What I was really talking about is the dramas, because the situation with dramas is they're supposed to be telling you a story. There should be a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Uh-huh.
And for a lot of these, there just isn't. And that's really the problem I have with it. Sure, Simpsons probably shouldn't have gone on for the 75th season. I think we can all agree with that. But also just dramas that sprawl into the 8 and 9 seasons with no end in sight and no real thought towards an end. That's what gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let us know what you
Such
think.
as House of Cards, apparently.
Not according to Juan. But let us know what series you think maybe has gone on too long. Again, mine, Sons of Anarchy. Love Sons of Anarchy. Too many seasons of Sons of Anarchy.
I have like 30 of them.
Clay cannot escape that many times. But that's if you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about. All right. Let's bounce around to a couple of these other things that we need to get to here before we wrap up. This next one is just a movie that I wanted to bring up and make people aware of because I'm interested in it. I don't know if other people will be or not. If you were a fan of the original Braveheart, so this is a historical biopic essentially, and I love those kinds of movies. I love period dramas, and this is if you watch Braveheart, there was a character called Robert the Bruce in there who is a real person. Did exist. He was king of the Scots and basically got everybody in line to help fight the English after William Wallace was gone.
Yeah, but then he screwed everybody over.
Well, yeah, they all screwed everybody over.
Right,
yeah,
right.
and he this is basically the story of him. So what
Okay.
the movie is going to be, it's going to be called The Outlaw King, and it's going to be for Netflix. According to Deadline, it's going to be on Netflix. And film's director is David Mackenzie. Chris Pine is set to play Robert the Bruce.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is the Hell or High Water connection. Because Chris Pine and Ben Foster are both rumored to be in this thing.
Yeah.
And they are both amazing on their own, especially Ben Foster, but I like Chris Pine a lot. And they were amazing together in Hell or High Water.
Yeah, I think Ben
They had
Foster's in
really
Portland
good chemistry.
right now, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. He's awesome.
But yeah, so that's
I'll watch
The
it.
Outlaw
Just
King.
knowing
Yeah.
that those two are in it, I'm in.
I'm excited about it. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure people are aware of it. If you like historical or things like that, or you like Chris Pine and Ben Foster, that's in the works right now. I thought it was cool.
There it is.
Something else that's in the works that we already know is going to happen, and we finally got. Let's see, we got at least the year this is going to be coming out, and it has to do with the Godzilla versus King Kong movie.
Yeah.
I still think there's a lot of people that don't realize. At
That
least
they're in the same world.
Yeah, that they're in the same world,
universe,
that
yeah.
this is all going to end up into a big battle.
Yeah. Well, they haven't really
They haven't hyped that
accentuated
up.
that.
Yeah.
At all. I think it's probably because they weren't sure if it was all going to come together, you know, necessarily. But now it seems to be moving forward at full steam. Mm-hmm. We should say we had a little hiccup in our Facebook Live. I think we're still going, but I think it paused for a moment. So
looks
welcome
like
back if you're still with us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely, yeah. I think we're back. So, taking a look at this, the Godzilla versus King Kong. So we kind of got the distribution schedule of what's going to be happening. There is, sorry, I'm trying to pull this up right now. The sequel for Godzilla is slated for 2019, and I think it's 2020 is when we're going to be getting the Godzilla versus King Kong.
Well,
movies.
and everything has to be in a universe.
Yes.
Every single thing has to be in a cinematic universe. We're
Yes.
getting the Universal Monsters universe. We're getting the King Kong Godzilla universe.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a universe franchise, you're going to
Yeah,
fail
you're
as a
really,
studio.
you're really,
You're screwed.
Not working. So it's May 22nd, 2020
Nice.
is when we're going to see this Godzilla
I'm
versus
excited.
King Kong.
I will totally watch the hell out of that show.
Big
Big monsters crushing stuff. That's awesome.
I'll watch it sometime.
It's for the big screen. You got to see it on the big screen.
Right. All right. Well, there we go. Found out that. A couple other things. Cool. Just kind of wrap up today with some series and movies that are going to be coming out that we wanted to make you aware of, which is part of what we do here for Between the Streams. And you found out about this, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, Danny DeVito and Jeff Goldblum are reportedly working together on a comedy series for Amazon.
Awesome.
30-minute
Yes.
comedy series.
Sold.
And can we talk about this Goldblum renaissance that we're having right now?
I love it.
Goldblum at one point a few years ago was doing an Law and Order spinoff, some terrible, third-tier NBC program, and I'm sure he was good in it. But all of a sudden, he's back, baby. He's back in black.
Oh, yeah.
He's on this new series here. He's going to be in Thor Ragnarok. We got recent news that he's going to be in the next Jurassic World.
Yep.
It's pretty exciting to see
I'm
Goldblum,
all
because who
about
doesn't
Goldblum.
love Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah. And team him up with Danny DeVito. Yeah.
It's going to be hilarious.
I mean, it's going to be good. I don't even
two
care
of the weirdest guys in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But good weird.
Yep.
Not Gary Busey weird.
No.
Because nobody wants that on
No,
TV. That's just scary.
That's true.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this one.
So
It's gonna be
that will be airing on Amazon. We don't have.
I don't think we have
a
any
date.
info.
Yeah.
That's just very preliminary. But
That's all
it's
you
coming.
need.
It's coming at you.
So that'll be happening at some point in the future. We also have the Gears of War movie, another video game movie, and I did not play Gears of War, so I will be honest, I don't know if I should be excited or not for this.
I have no idea, but I'll tell you why you should not be excited. Because it's a video game being made into a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty rare that we get something that's going to actually work on that.
But the one interesting thing that we do have from this is that one of the writers, or maybe the lead writer for James Cameron's new Avatar series, is going to write this one. So I guess that's cool. He's going to write the script. Are you excited about these Avatar movies? They've been coming out for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was all right, but
come on, it was pretty good.
I mean, yeah, it was good. Yeah.
The next one's you only have to wait till 2020.
Right. Yeah. Is that 10 years in between?
They've pushed it back like several times and multiple years. But the thing about Avatar is you can never count out James Cameron, because right when he's pushed the budget double and everybody thinks it's going to fail, and the studio execs are tearing their hair out and people are talking about how he's a nut bar, his movie makes $6 billion and it's the biggest thing
he's
ever.
a money-making machine.
He's done this multiple times. He did it with T2. He did it with Titanic. He did it with Avatar, the original. Every time people think it's like, this is just going to fail so hard, guess what? It doesn't. And it's like the biggest thing ever.
Yep.
So if James Cameron can pull this off, it will be like the biggest trick he's ever pulled. 4 new movies, I believe.
In the Avatar world?
Yeah.
Wow. That is a lot of new Avatar movies.
Maybe it's 5. It's a lot.
It's a lot
of new movies, yeah.
Well, there we go.
But anyway, the writer for that is going to be working on Gears of War. So
Okay.
there you
All
have
right.
it.
And the final thing, this is just something else that I just wanted to make people aware of, and I don't even have an image for this. It's another kind of, this is going to happen, and it's in the process of happening, but I'm already excited about this. It's a show called The Happy Time Murders, and it's Melissa McCarthy starring in a dark Muppets movie. So Jim Henson
You mean
Studio,
actual Muppets?
actual Muppets. The Jim
my
Henson
gosh.
Company's involved. It's an adult show, so there's this. The premise is essentially Melissa McCarthy teams up with a puppet to solve the mystery of who is brutally murdering the former cast of the Happy Time Gang, which was a puppet show set against the backdrop of the underbelly of Los Angeles.
That sounds great.
So these brutal puppet murders, and she's trying to solve it with with
man.
like some private detective puppet
Okay.
that's going to be helping out.
That's awesome. And
Sold.
who doesn't love Melissa McCarthy?
Exactly.
She's
Yep, I'm
fantastic.
100% in. So
She hasn't made All of her movies are not fantastic.
No.
We'll say that, but she is just funny incarnate. Her Sean Spicer alone.
Oh, yeah. Well, and Ben Falcone's going to be a part of this, too, her husband. So
he's great.
If you haven't seen The Nobodies also, that's a show the two of them have teamed up on right now,
yeah,
too.
he
on
produces
TUN,
all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, so the Happy Time Murders, look forward to that.
Nice.
All right, I think that's about it for today.
I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's great. You had me at Muppets, but murders, yes. I guess that's a weird thing to say.
That was a weird
all
thing
right,
to say.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Between the Streams. So we're also an audio podcast available on iTunes and Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts, and we would love it if you could go there and subscribe to that.
If you don't want to look at our faces, that is the best way to go.
Understandable. And
we can all see that.
And no, please go there and do that. And we are live on YouTube and Facebook every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Great way to end the week. There's a lot of other things going on in the world you can worry about. It's fun to just kind of take a minute to worry about silly things like what series went on too long.
We just don't get serious.
Yeah.
And happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
Happy Cinco de Mayo, and have a great weekend, everyone. And we will see you next week with another episode.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.